Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, public comments. Anyone wishing to be heard, speak to the council, please step to the podium, given 3 minutes. Name and address, please.
Name is Murray Mack, 2772 Park Drive, St. Cloud. Mayor Schultz, members of the council, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. As I said, my name is Murray Mack. I'm principal of HMA Architects in St. Cloud, and I'm here tonight to talk about agenda item number 8, which is the recommendation for architect on the community center project. As you may be aware, there were 18 submittals. HMA was one of 18 architects who submit for the project, one of 4 to interview for the project, and unfortunately apparently second place in that running. So I'm here tonight to talk about that a little bit. While I respect the process that the committee went through to make their recommendation, I would ask that the council reconsider some of the issues that were considered in that process. I've highlighted 5 of those aspects. I'm going to give you a letter so you can read those hopefully before the agenda item comes up, and I'll stick around here too for that agenda item. But probably the most significant issue to me was local versus non-local. There were 4 firms that interviewed for the project, 3 local, 1 non-local, and to hear that a large Twin Cities firm was selected for the project was, to say the least, disheartening for us, especially with our involvement in the local community here over the years, projects in other cities and so forth. We really are committed to this local community, and to lose to a Twin Cities firm was challenging. So I wear that on my sleeve, unfortunately. The other item is community. We've been involved with this community. We've done projects for the city of St. Joe, the fire hall, this building that we're in today, St. Joseph Church, work at St. Ben's, work with the local communities here. We worked on the pre-design for the community center project, working with committees. We have a bunch of information that certainly I think would be valuable going forward in that process. The YMCA, it's not a done deal, but if you partner with the YMCA, our firm did the YMCA project. We understand the intricacies of the operations and functional aspects of a YMCA. They partnered with St. Cloud. That wasn't an easy process to put together, and I think we have the support of the director in that regard. Finally, or number 4, bidding and construction. I certainly hope you'll hire a local construction firm to do this project. We have over 30 years of working with local companies here. They know us, we know them. There's certainly going to be favors done, I think, during the construction process. And I wonder what the local contractors would say about who they'd like to work with an architect. And I know that's not something that can be considered at this time because the contractor's not on board, but we think there's a significant advantage here that could bring cheaper bids and certainly more interest to the project. Fees and scope of work. We said in our interview we'd be willing to negotiate the fee and the scope of work on the project. Maybe if it was, we were a close second, negotiating with both firms would make sense, because then you can see what the differences are versus approving a selection tonight and then negotiating with a firm that's already got the job, so to speak. We're certainly open to continuing that conversation. So once again, thank you for your support and confidence over the years. We definitely appreciate that. And to be honest, this is the first time I've stood in front of the council asking them to reconsider a selection that's already been put in place. And I think that shows a passion that I have for this project and for this community. I'll stick around for the agenda item. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Murray. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak to the council tonight? Seeing no one else come forward, we'll move item 3, looking for a motion to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. Any changes or additions, Therese?
There are not.
Motion and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4. Right? Okay. Oh, I thought, sorry. Alex, come on up, Alex. Tonight we have a new police officer. We're gonna do a little swearing in. Nervous?
A little bit.
So am I. So am I, because I can't read this for the heck, and I've done this so many times. So, this way. Face me, buddy. Raise your right hand. And repeat after me. I, Alex Lyon,
I, Alex Lang,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support the Constitution of the United States,
to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of
and to discharge faithfully the duties of
the position of police officer of St. Joseph, Minnesota.
the position of police officer for Minnesota, St. Joel.
I will well and truly serve
I will and truly serve
our sovereign country and state
our sovereign country and state
without favor or affection,
without favor or affection,
malice or ill will,
malice or ill will,
until I am legally discharged.
until I am legally discharged.
I will see and cause our community's peace
I will see and cause our community's peace
to be kept and preserved.
to be kept and preserved.
I will prevent to the best of my ability
I will prevent to the best of my ability
all offenses against peace,
all offenses against peace,
according to the law,
according to the law,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, you're now a police officer. I only made 3 mistakes. Oh, this is you sign that and you get that copy. And you have to sign here. We keep this one?
That's a city copy.
Okay. Right there. And you get to keep that with you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys want to take a big picture or something? No? Okay. We like pictures. Item 5, consent agenda. Motion on consent, anyone?
Oh, I'm sorry. I will motion to accept. No.
No.
Teach me. Again. I'm learning. Oh, for the consent agenda.
Second, motion and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, public hearing, outdoor event for Rocktoberfest.
Yes.
Kayla?
So staff had received a special event application from the St. Joseph Brewster Club for an event to be held Saturday, September 25th. A public hearing is required for this event because the music does go past 9:30. The event will take place on the church grounds, and the applicant did include a site plan for you to review as well. Staff did review, and there was just one comment from Chief Funenstein. He requires 1 off-duty officer present.
That being said, we'll open the public hearing. Anybody wish to speak for or against the Rocktoberfest, please step to the podium. Seeing no one come forward, we'll close the public hearing and open to counselors. Questions, concerns, issues?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Motion and second to approve the outdoor event request for Rocktoberfest. One question, the same place and everything as before? Do we need Public Works at all? They're doing all the cleanup and everything? Okay, very good. Motion and second to approve the special request outdoor event Rocktoberfest. Any other issues or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Kayla. Item 7, street closure request.
That one's mine as well.
Yeah?
So staff had
Keep going.
received 2 special event permit applications from Sal's Bar. for events to be held on Saturday, September 11th and Saturday, October 2nd. This one does not require a public hearing, but does require council approval because of the alley closure request. The music is scheduled to be done at 9:30. The alley is requested to be closed from 8 a.m. until 8 a.m. the following day. And Public Works and the Police Department reviewed this app as well. Public Works comment was that the alley must be cleaned by the following morning, and then the Police Department comment was to have fence to contain the alcohol and staff at all entrances and exits to contain it.
And so you're okay with that? Can I ask, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so you're okay with that as
I can't
long
see the
as
direction.
5 security guards in the fire department? Is that, how may I understand
here.
you reading that?
Yeah, we've kind of, from past practice, have set it where the threshold for an off-duty officer is about 500 or more. After 1,000, we require 2, and that's how we kind of use our Joetown rocks. In this particular case, they're saying they're gonna have a maximum of about 450, so it doesn't really trigger that off-duty officer unlike Rocktoberfest, which they said they're expecting more than 500, so. So as long as they have security that controls the alcohol, we'll still have officers, if they're available, pop through, but as long as they contain the alcohol from flowing in and out, that's fine.
Okay.
And these two things are reunions?
Yep, all alumni.
Class reunions?
Yep, class reunion alumni. It's generally in June, but
Okay.
because of where we were sitting with COVID at the time, they didn't plan for it until now. The only probably issue that may arise, I kind of was wavering a little bit, was it is not in June anymore. Now it's in September when we have students that are back, so it didn't, I didn't not notice that, I'll put it that way, so it'll be interesting to see if we're only at our 450 or more, but
Well,
we'll adapt.
That's what that was gonna be my second,
Mm-hmm,
make me a little nervous,
yep,
so.
I as well.
as
I'm
long
hoping
as-
that they adhere to their 9:30 when they're gonna stop, and traditionally Sal's doesn't pick up with their evening traffic until much later than 9:30, so.
So they've done this before, they posted this, but it's been in June and now we're
Correct.
doing, okay.
Mhm. Never had any incidents either,
Mhm.
I mean, there's been at least 4 or 5 to my knowledge they've had without incident, so.
So the difference being that students will be back
Will
in
be-
session,
So this will be a whole new ballgame then for you.
so alumni
Okay.
could stay later. Sal's could open at 9:30 for students coming in. The 450 could end up to be,
850.
well,
Mhm.
a lot
Right.
of traffic, not only, and I don't mean vehicle, I mean people
Yeah.
traffic. Coming in and out. And the
That's my
fence, the
only-
fence will stay up beyond 9:30.
Correct.
The music will stop, the fence
But their
will stay
permit
up.
for the outdoor alcohol will end
Right.
and the music will have to end per
Mhm.
their permit. So otherwise, the council could consider further actions if they don't follow the permit, so,
Okay.
But the fence will stay up so they can still gather
just without alcohol, yeah.
without alcohol. So we have to make sure that
Mhm.
that's not occurring, that young kids aren't going and dragging it outside. And so really, that would be the newest thing to this.
Correct.
They'd go in to go Sal's at 9:30 or 10, they'd see the fence, they'd drag it out there. And
We're talking about students going to find their mom and dad to tie one on.
yeah, okay.
We're gonna be combining generations.
You know,
Yeah.
Huh?
it's just time of day.
They'll have supervision then that way.
I
Right.
hate to
Good
say it, I
supervision.
might,
The parents is who I'm worried about.
well, I
All
know
right.
that St. John's Preparatory School, that's their reunion, and then along with the college, if I'm understanding it correctly, so that, just what I've been hearing from my children, it's going to be a nice, large group there.
Yeah.
So,
So the last question is, how do we
well, I just,
ensure
he's
400?
comfortable, yes, and that,
Yeah, at
We
this
can't.
stage, we've never, and unless
We've
Kayla
never-
has something differently, we've just gone by what people, like Rocktoberfest, for example, their first year, they anticipated 2,500, so we required 2 officers,
Yeah.
and they were in the 500 to 600 range. So it's a guess at this stage of the game, and so they're, I guess, putting their best foot forward, saying we expect 450 and
Okay.
staying under that 500 threshold and see where it goes.
but if it does, we have the backup to shut them down? Is that
We'll
what kind of-
monitor it very closely.
Okay,
Okay. So you need a motion, right, to approve both of them? Right?
I make a motion to approve?
Second?
Motion and second to approve street closure, both street closures, September 11th and October 2nd. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, community center architect recommendation.
Yeah, so, we had received 18 proposals in response to the RFP that was released in, April. And it was narrowed down by the evaluation panel, which, included the city council, the finance director, and myself. And, those were scored, and, a short list, was created. Those firms included GLT Architects, BRS Architecture, HMA Architects, GLG Architects, and HGA Architect. So the council and the community center committee group held a joint meeting on June 16th, where those top 4 firms presented. And it also was an opportunity for the committee and the council to ask the firms questions. And then subsequently, the community center committee met on June 23rd and discussed the presentations, the proposals, and recommended that HGA be chosen as the architect. So within the staff report, it highlights the comments that were made. So you can go ahead and read those, but essentially they discussed experience in designing community centers. They have a full team. They showed how the site connected to the neighborhoods in downtown. The emphasis on community engagement, that was brought up numerous times. And so tonight, the action that was before you this evening was a motion to approve HGA contingent on the council approving a contract, which we kind of have to come back to at a future meeting. Councilor Aloso couldn't be here this evening, and he did ask me to ask you this evening to hold off on making a decision until the full council was present.
Are we able to add, or
Excuse me?
am I able to comment, or?
Absolutely, we're all gonna comment, I think.
Well, I'm on the committee, and I fully support the committee's decision. They've worked a long and hard road on this, and I think they really took their time in going through this along with the council members. And it really was. It was a hard decision. But my position is supporting and recommending HGA in supporting the committee.
I would agree with what Kelly said. I can't say it any better. If the committee recommends that firm, then that's what we should go with. And I think we should make a decision tonight.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about, well, I shoot for 100%. If you're not here to make a decision, you're not here to make a decision. I haven't been here, like the first year I had cancer, I missed quite a few meetings, and business went on as normal. But I do want to say, and I had this conversation, I think with Therese, about the fees that could be hidden in the contract that may not align fiduciarily with our responsibility. The B3, some of the extra costs that may be incurred on meetings, and were definitely in doubt in my mind. I'm not saying they didn't design and have a great sales pitch. I think some of the fees will come to bite us later on. And so I'm concerned how that fits into really the budget itself.
Well,
I'm also, I'm
both
not
of
done,
them
Kelly,
did.
and
Okay,
you,
sorry.
yeah. I'm also concerned, quite frankly, with, and I think I had this discussion also with some of the other community members that were there, about the lack of local experience and local involvement this company has had. Where the other 3 architects are all local, 10-minute drive, easy contact. I'm not saying HGA wouldn't, be involved, but at the same time, they're in Minneapolis, they're a national firm, and how fast can they respond to anything? And are there all their engineers local? Or, how will they hire construction workers local? Will they? Do they have any knowledge of that? To me, those are questions that could have come into the discussion a little bit. I wasn't there. I had other engagement. So I'm hesitant to do this without further looking at some of those issues. I mean, I want to do it right too. I don't think HGA did a bad thing. I don't think any of the 4 presented poorly. And there's no doubt about it, HGA came in with a great concept for that area. At the same time, I'm a little concerned about their fee structure, their schedules, the meetings that potentially have a budget impact, and some of the local engagement that they haven't had in this area. Nothing in their portfolio had anything to do with us, or anything to do with central Minnesota and beyond. So again, I'm not crazy about approving anything right now. Even if Bob was here, I'd still not be crazy about approving it.
Yeah, are you done?
I am.
So I concur with the mayor in the sense that we don't have to make a decision tonight. This process has gone on for a long, long time. We're talking about a minimum $10–15 million project. And there's no reason we have to rush into a decision tonight. I think it would be best if the full council was here. This doesn't take anything away from what the Community Center Committee has done the last 2–3 years. Doesn't take anything away from that. In fact, you got the job done in terms of recommending an organization, and you also got the job done in terms of recommending the ones that came in second, third, and fourth. And I think it was close between HMA and HGA. My concern also is about the cost of this. This is gonna be a $15 million project when we're done. That's Klusner's guess. I haven't crunched the numbers, but you know, we've got 10 million in bonding, then we're gonna have to go out and raise money. We've got an RFP for a fundraiser, so it's gonna be north of 10. So I would like to see, what would it cost? What would HMA cost? What would HGA cost if it was a $15 million project? And if some of these, and the costs of, how much is it gonna cost for HGA people to travel from Minneapolis up to here versus local people from HMA or these other two firms traveling from St. Cloud out to here? And when you put a number on 15 million, you know, we're talking not tens of thousands, but hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference, I'm guessing. So the committee recommended to the council a firm. The council takes that recommendation and then decides on what's the best course moving forward. So to me, it's still an open question.
Therese, do you recall the B3 fee for HGA? Was it part of the bid or not?
They have that as a supplement service.
Yeah. So
It was 1% for every 100,000.
Yeah, so we have to pay for that service, it wasn't, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So those are the ones that concern me the most, where there wasn't a physical dollar amount. We have to calculate as part of the budget going forward. Is it possible, and again, I'm kind of leaning to the right here, would you guys consider crunching some more numbers, getting some hard and fast numbers from HGA, so we know what that means going forward?
I think there was really good questions that were asked by the committees, and I mean, if you feel you need to do that, but I will still support the committee. I think they did their due diligence on a lot of great questions on that last meeting. So, I mean, if you feel you need that, I will support that, but I'm gonna still support the recommendation of the committee.
Yeah, and I'm not saying HGA will not come back with great responses.
Right.
What I'm just saying is I don't know what they are, and I don't know what that costs.
Well, that's what I'm adding, is that the committee had asked those questions about pricings and things like that, and being able to negotiate, and I believe they rang them through the ringer with both companies, and I think that's what their conversation was, is because it was really a ball up in the air for them. They took their time and really conversating through it, so I don't think it was a carefree questions that they were asking. I thought there was a lot of the questions that I wasn't thinking of, and they did. So, and it was a lot about the finance. So again, if you feel that to make that a better decision, go ahead, but I'm still going to support the committee.
Yeah, so my motion is to lay it on the table until we get some more hard and fast numbers from HGA on the B3. Again, more definite on travel costs, contingent costs, meeting costs, all the things that were not part of the initial bid.
Well, and I want to see some type of pro forma based on it costing 10 million, 15 million, and we could throw another number in if we need to. What would it cost for each of the firms? What would it cost us
Okay.
at those other levels? It's going to be more than 10. And it's fine we put 10 in there. I'm not objecting to that, but I just think we have to be more realistic.
So the question I have is, can we get that done in 2 weeks by the time the next council gets back?
I think we can.
Okay. So that's my motion.
Second?
Motion and second. We're gonna come back with some better numbers, and do this again. Again, it's not saying anything against that HA would or would not win, be number one. It's just we're gonna look at a little finer detail of numbers and get some commitment from HGA perhaps. Motion and second. Further questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion does not prevail. The ball's in your court, girls and boys.
I still think we just go with what the committee recommended, like Kelly said, that's my feeling.
You already know how I feel, so.
We can't do anything without a motion. Somebody has to make a motion, somebody
Okay.
has to make a second.
I motion to approve in going with HGA.
Second.
Motion and second. I know where this is going. Motion and second, HGA contingent on an approved contract. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Motion does not prevail.
So, do we have to wait then?
Motion to
until-
table till we get a fifth
till we
council
get a
member here.
fifth council member. I make the motion to wait until the fifth council member is here.
I'll second.
Motion and second. I'd like to amend that motion to consider in that 2-week time frame getting more financial information from HGA. Got 2 weeks to wait on it.
Ball's in your court now.
Well, it's not, I just made a motion to amend it.
Okay.
I second.
Motion and second to amend the motion to include HGA numbers. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion prevails. Motion and second to table for 2 weeks. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, guys. Item 9A, outdoor dining.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. So for your consideration this evening is a small amendment to the outdoor patio and sidewalk cafe ordinance. The Planning Commission did conduct a public hearing and recommend approval of the change at their June 14th meeting. As you recall, the council had approved a slew of different changes to this ordinance back in May. And with this revision, what we're proposing is the current ordinance limits the size of patios to no more than 49% of the size of a principal structure, or the square footage of the restaurant. We propose to amend that to not limit the size of the patio. There's existing properties and that are either developed or undeveloped that would be conducive to larger patio sizes, and with the increase in demand in patios and the limited time that we can be out on patios in Minnesota, we are proposing this change to the ordinance. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we'd be looking for a recommendation on the ordinance doc number 2021-010, and then if that prevails, the summary publication.
Motion to approve ordinance 2021, is it 10 or 35? 10? 2021, 10.
Second.
Motion and second on ordinance changes for 2021, 10. Questions or concerns? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Make a motion for summary publication, resolution 2021-35.
Second.
Motion and second for summary publication. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 9B, sign discussion.
For your consideration, so this evening, we're just having discussion. I'm just looking to hear any concerns or comments as it relates to some potential sign amendments. The Planning Commission did conduct a public hearing at their May meeting for some changes. Essentially, there's two changes. The first change would add wayfinding signage to the code. That amendment is spurred by a CVB initiative to do a trailhead map at the Wobegon Trail. Right now, there's some gray area in the code as to off-premise sign and what would consist of or would differentiate an off-premise sign from a wayfinding, since there's no clear definition for wayfinding. So we had proposed to define what wayfinding is, and then to require that the city is the only one that can install, erect, and design wayfinding signs. We don't have any initiative or motivation to do other signs right now. It's just spurred by the request for having a sign at the trailhead for the Wobegon. So the second sign amendment would create clearer language to prohibit what's called dynamic displays or electronic signage in the downtown area. So the 2007 downtown design standard plan did put forth language in there that discourages that type of signage in the downtown area. So I can go through the PowerPoint, or I can skip that. I'll leave it up to the council, but I think that kind of encapsulates in a nutshell what those changes would be and result in. So again, just discussion right now. I just want to understand if the council has any concerns or comments as it relates to those changes.
Councilors?
So what do we consider downtown? Just like Minnesota?
There's a business district map somewhere.
Yeah, yep, so we have a business district map. So within the signage code, two facets. The first is the B1 district is our downtown district. So any properties that are zoned B1 would be downtown. The second is we have a downtown service signage area, and that's included as an appendix in the sign map. So that goes along Minnesota Street and then College Avenue. So
But that appendix wasn't in here, was it, in this packet?
No.
Okay.
No, it wasn't, so I apologize for
No,
that.
that's okay. Maybe you could just send that to me so I can kind of see visually what we're talking about in terms of what we consider areas of downtown that these ordinances, which I think are a good idea,
The
should
apply
zones,
to.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I would
Okay.
love that too.
Okay.
And where does this building fall in?
So this is actually zoned as educational and I'm gonna butcher. Yes, very hard word to say. Trips me up every time.
Does educational and ecclesiastical
Religious.
include the Church of St. Joseph, or is Church of St. Joseph in downtown?
So, yeah, correct, it does include the EE district.
Well, it's still considered part of B1 district, but it's zoned EE.
So
Correct.
is EE exempt from the dynamic signage sign? I'm thinking of the sign out here on College that the government center has.
So, since this is zoned differently and not within the downtown
Yeah,
service map
right.
area, it's allowed to have a sign that's dynamic.
So would
So-
the church be allowed to have a dynamic sign
So
if they
that's
wanted one?
so that's part of the proposed change is the service map, the appendix, which shows that area along in the entire Minnesota street would then prohibit dynamic designs.
Even though the church might be an EED or whatever it's called, they won't be able to put one up.
If the changes are proposed, then correct.
Good.
Yeah.
What
I don't want
about,
them to put one up.
what we were talking about speeding and
I
the
know.
electrical
I know, but they do.
signs that they might, we were talking about at the last meeting, would that be a part of that also, or?
I'm not sure I quite understand the question.
We were talking about signage the last time about, schooling and the thought process of bringing up a electrical where it flashes just during school time.
Oh, like a rapid flash beacon, it's
Yes,
called,
that
where
kinda
it's just,
thing,
it's
and that
like a
was the thought.
crosswalk.
Yes.
Yeah.
kinda
Okay,
thing.
no, so the dynamic display is more or less meant for a on-premise sign that's for a business or a destination
Okay.
that's
Information.
electronic. Yeah, so
Okay.
the flashing lights for the crosswalk, that's a safety
Okay, That's what I was just
enhancement. Yeah, yep, nope, good question.
okay. Everybody else okay?
No. What other businesses besides CVB have requested wayfinding signs?
Well, I would say that the CVB request is what initiated the change, proposed change to make it more clear on the language. Right now, as it sits, that language is gray for what they would like to do. So what we're proposing to do is make it more black and white, basically.
So right now, the sign ordinance says no off-premise signs, and wayfinding is a way to get around off-premise signs.
Yes, but wayfinding is essentially, though, city erected signage that's meant to direct pedestrians and vehicles to destinations. So we wouldn't have businesses that could do that. The only wayfinding signage that we would have would be city wayfinding. If that makes
Well,
sense.
if Ace Hardware comes and say, I want a wayfinding sign on Wobegon Trail, why would we prevent that?
Because this wayfinding sign would have to be erected, designed, and installed by the city. So a private business couldn't.
I'm saying, why wouldn't the city do it? If Ace came into the city and said, I want a wayfinding sign on the Wobegon Trail so people know where Ace Hardware is.
I would say that would fall back into part of what we're proposing to change is to differentiate that type of request from a wayfinding. So wayfinding may be a type of off-premise, but an off-premise sign for a private business is different than a government installed, initiated sign.
So we,
And,
as
and I'm just saying, we've just taken an objective off-premise sign and made it subjective by the city rates. City can approve these, but not these.
They serve different purposes.
Not really. They're off-premise signs. They're advertising.
No, but Rick, I think what you're missing is, like in the PowerPoint, wayfinding examples. These are signs that they're like maps.
I-
Like someone comes out of town to ride their bike,
I get
then
it.
they wanna say, okay, we're gonna spend another hour and a half in St. Joe. And there's things that we've erected as the city to say, they know where to go find X, Y, Z.
I know what they are.
So I
I
think
understand.
you're going down the wrong track on this in terms of your objection that Ace or some other business is gonna ask for a wayfaring sign.
I'm saying they could,
And then I'm saying we could say no.
no,
but then it becomes subjective on who we do and don't do it for. Because if other people outside of the CVB want a map somewhere, and we say, no. Well, why?
Well, because we're looking at it as a city as a whole, so they're coming
Right.
to us, we see the full picture, they're coming for their business, and don't get me wrong, I think that's a good thing. But that's us as a council to be able to say, we gotta look at the big picture, that's why we have the staff, and we're gonna say, would this be a good idea or not? And that's where we get to be objective on it.
And I'm not saying the process, I'm saying the city council becomes subjective, not objective, in determining who gets a wayfinding sign on any trail or any street. I want these businesses, and I don't know what they would be, Sal's, the Legion, whatever else, I want a wayfinding sign as well. Or I wanna be part of that wayfinding sign. But it's a different place I want. And the city says no. Well, why? Wouldn't they just as well qualify for a wayfinding sign as the CBB wants?
Well, it
I'm
depends
saying
on-
it opens a Pandora's box of us trying to determine where wayfinding signs go and who gets them. And we're the judge and jury on that, and that, to me, opens a civil lawsuit in legal terms of, well, I didn't get one, but they did. And the city constructed it, but they won't construct mine.
Well, talking about the CVB, if you're gonna say that, then we could direct them to the CVB if they're having a sign that's going to, they're collaborating with the businesses of town.
Very
And
possible.
that's what we could say as a city, we already have one erected and you can, contact CVB. We're not saying no, but we're saying no to another sign, but we're issuing them to the CVB.
And if I'm saying the city owns it and constructs it, why do we need an ordinance change? We can construct a sign anywhere because we can, in fact, own it. And we did once before, at the corner of College and 75.
So that's a great question. So we don't have to technically change the code.
We don't.
If
can
we
just build it.
interpret the code as we can do these types of city comprehensive signage, it's allowed outright, where we could have a map at the trailhead and we interpret the code as that, then we can do that. But I guess the amendments was really meant to add more clarity and define better what constitutes wayfinding versus the off-premise. And a private business having an off-premise is a different purpose than a government authorized sign to get folks from point A to point B.
And I'll go back to, if the government is constructing it, then really we don't need an ordinance change. We just need CVB or whoever to direct it and go out and find out who wants on their wayfinding sign and construct it. We don't need a new ordinance for that. If we're constructing, owning it, CVB is gonna maintain it, EDA is the authority over the CVB, why do we need an ordinance change? I don't think we do.
We don't. So
We're good.
Yep.
Next movement, next.
Okay.
But
Stop when you get the answer you
I-
want.
I mean, I guess
I'm just saying, you're
Yeah.
going to a depth here that I wouldn't have gone to, knowing that if it's gonna be city-owned and constructed, we don't really need an ordinance change at all. We just need people to buy in, and how are they gonna put their thing on the sign or whatever?
part of the purpose why we brought forth the change was there was concern that was brought up at the meeting on what constitutes wayfinding versus off-premise. So that's why we brought it forth. Before, staff did have that interpretation.
Didn't we have a discussion the last time?
We
saying
did.
We
there was
did.
too many signs in town
Yeah,
already?
we don't want more signs. We don't. I don't wanna open up the door to put more signs up.
My point on that was traffic signs, all
Any
the stuff
signs.
that we, put up in that regard. I wasn't necessarily talking about signs of businesses.
Well, again, all I'm saying is if we're gonna own it, construct it, CVB is gonna find a way to advertise it, whatever it is, then I'm not sure we have to go to the impact of changing anything. I mean, we did this before. We had a sign on County 75 in College paid for by the people that put up their little broadcast sign, maintained on Stearns County property. Now, this is a little different because it can be a map, it can be a whatever arrow sign, it can be anything else. But I'm just saying, I would leave this with CVB, EDA, and let them figure it out if we're gonna own it and construct it. I think, there might be some other rules behind where you're gonna put it. If it's just on the Wobegon Trail, or if you're gonna decide you wanna put it somewhere else for other businesses as well. I mean, if you got trails all over the place. You wanna put one out by the park and ride when they're coming in on the bikes or something? Hey, here's the new businesses there. And besides, I'm not crazy about signs anyway, because if you got an iPhone and GPS, you can find darn near anything you want.
Nate, this request was coming from us though, correct, in changing these words? It was just,
So, a couple of things. So, staff did interpret the request as allowable within current code, but there was concern that was brought up
okay,
at one of the CBB meetings. So that's why we brought forth the change to
Okay.
try and make it more black and white.
mhm,
But we can interpret the code and define the code as, we could do it without changing. So that's part of why we're having this discussion this evening too, is to get ahead of those and understand the direction so we come back with a formal change that addresses some concerns.
And so Nate, going back to the education and ecclesiastical, is it called division, or what's that called?
Zoning.
Zoning, the EEZ. Are you saying in here with these changes that you have in green or red that is that's addressed in here?
Correct. Yep. So there's a
What
couple.
page?
So there's
What
multiple.
page would that fall into where the church is considered part of the business district for that purpose?
There's probably not a zone map in there, is there?
No. So if you go to subdivision 21, where it says
Give me the
downtown service signage area.
Give me the page number at the bottom, if you would, please.
Don't have the packet. So it's 50211-21. I'm not sure.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm on page 21.
So it's section M that talks about dynamic displays. So that downtown service signage area, that's the reference to the area that entails Minnesota Street and College Avenue. So what we're proposing in there is the change showing the dynamic displays are prohibited except in the B3 district, because there's a portion of Minnesota that is B3 that's off of towards I-94. So essentially all the properties along there prohibit except for that B3 zoned area.
Okay.
So again, I should have included that appendix in that map. I apologize for that again. I will send that so you can see that depiction.
thank you, Nate.
Well, don't just send it to me. Let's talk about this again at the next meeting and include that in the comments that the mayor's made about those kinds of things, and we can.
So just my suggestion, so you wanna show the downtown business district and how it's zoned, where the different zones are in the district.
Hmm.
That's what he really wants to see.
I'd like to see it too.
Yeah, so we'll have that zoning map and that appendix to the signage code. Yep.
That'd be great.
That makes sense? Okay.
Perfect.
Anything else? Think we're good? Okay. Item 11, winter parking, sorry. Randy, you wanted to say anything? Okay, item 11. Winter parking regs.
All right, so at a prior council meeting, you had briefly discussed the possibility of amending the city's on-street parking ordinance in relation to winter parking. I had reached out to the area cities and provided in the memo a chart that shows what their regulations are. All of the cities have some type of winter restriction. Majority of them are the same as ours, the November 1st to April 1st from 2 to 7 a.m. So at this point, I guess it's just up for discussion on where you'd like staff to go with, whether you wanted to potentially amend the ordinance or keep it as is.
Wasn't it, Bob, he just didn't want it as long, is that correct in saying?
It is.
didn't want it as long, or
The
he
months
wanted to
and
just
eight.
eliminate it altogether.
Yeah, I think he wanted options similar to what Cold Spring and Avon does, so that, you know, there's some kind of broadcast instead of hard and fast November to April.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he brought up like snow emergency as a
Yeah, and
alternative.
again, I'm not sure how Cold Spring communicates it, if they have problems with parking, you know, when there's accumulation or not, if they do a lot of towing down there or not.
Yeah, but we're not Cold Spring or St. Joe. Ryan, what do you feel?
Watch
I
out.
mean, you're the one plowing, right?
So Dwight and I had a conversation about this today. You can kind of look at it a couple different ways, and Dwight chime in whenever you want. So if you have winter parking regulations set in place for the year, it's repetition, right? So everybody knows it. Very few towings go on. If you start changing the winter parking regulations to a snow accumulation, so 2 inches. So once there's 2 inches on the ground, you got to move your cars up the streets. To me, that's just going to be absolute chaos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we definitely see a steady decline from the first couple of weeks at the beginning of the season, where people, if you want to call it, train themselves to finding out what they're going to do. I think a lot of people accumulate vehicles and boats and trailers and everything else throughout the course of a winter time. And when we do hit a snow emergency, they're all going to think, oh, now what do I do now? So at least, hopefully in November, we don't see a lot of snow and people have a chance to make arrangements, I guess. I do understand what Bob or Councilmember Loso has talked about. It seems like the weak winters we've been having lately, it seems like the streets aren't being utilized. But what happens when it does snow? I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's gonna cost the city money, in my opinion, because Ryan's crew is gonna go out there. It doesn't matter from the police department. We either ticket or we don't, whatever you guys give us direction. But from Ryan's side, from what I see, is they're gonna have to go around and open everything all up. And then once the cars move for snow emergency, they're gonna come back around again and plow a second time and probably use more chemical from the city to get this things clean. So I think it's gonna be an expense to the city. Not to mention, we maybe tow 5 to 10 cars on a good snow event. I would be willing to bet you'd probably be upwards of 40, 50 cars on a year when you don't enforce this season-wide. That's my prediction. A lot of your bigger cities that do the snow emergencies have their own city impound lots as well. We do not. So all these cars would go to Allcare and St. Cloud, and there's where you'd sit. So, my opinion.
And the parking ordinance has been in effect for
Ever.
ever, right?
What would it take to replace the signs?
He's just being a wise guy. Don't answer that.
Don't answer that, cause I don't really, I'm trying
I think
to.
it's been in place so long, there's no reason to touch it.
It's a onesie-twosie thing, and every year we get a few complaints, and that's why we just wanted to look at it. I'm still curious how Cold Spring, how they communicate that, but. Okay, well, I mean, we're not gonna make any changes, but Bob's gonna bring it up again when he gets back, if he gets back.
You will.
Well, he will, I mean, he's
He
gonna say
will.
what we do
I
about it.
agree.
So rest assured, it's not over till it's over. Well, you know, that's, so item 12. I don't know, Brian, if you wanna say anything?
No, I think my letter pretty much summed everything up
Okay.
for the most part.
Well, I just wanna say, I'm bummed. I was looking forward to running out the with you, but I completely understand, and, you'll be missed.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, Brian, you've done a really good job, and as acting mayor, I've relied on you a little bit, and I'm grateful for the service you've had.
It's been a great opportunity, and just life is taking me in a different direction.
I get that. So I do make a motion to accept, or resolution 2021-36, accept the resignation.
I second.
Motion second, 2021-36. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Brian, you can say aye. You can be opposed. So the other direction we have to get is, again, it's special election or fill like we did when Annie left. Get an application out there, determine the timeline and process, and then go through interviews again. And so the motion is to, is there a? Oh, sorry, so the motion I'm gonna make is that we, again, follow the same process we did last time we went through this. Open up application period, interview the applicants, and then make a decision to, toot sweet, try and get them in place by the first meeting in August.
I second that.
So motion and second, same process as last time. Do we put a limit of days on the application, how long it had to be out
Yeah.
there?
So last time, we had about 2.5 weeks, correct? It was just over 2 weeks, and we received eight applications, and you interviewed all of them. The interview process took up just about 3 hours.
Okay, can we close the application process on the 16th, which is Friday, a week from Friday? That's almost 2 weeks. And then interview the following week sometime?
Okay, so you'd like to close it, we can post it tomorrow and, close it on the 16th, that'd be a week and a half.
Is that okay, counselors?
Or do we-
Would it get into the news leader in time?
Oh,
The fact that this is
It-
open in terms of their every other week
Oh, it
publication?
wouldn't.
We don't want it in the news leader and then all of a sudden,
When did
there's
they-
only a day to apply. It's,
Right.
well, they
idea.
they publish on this Friday. What's their
Oh.
deadline? Wednesday?
It was.
It's a short week, so I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Friday, yeah.
was it
that's my
last
only
week?
reticence, is most people, I saw it in the news leader, not
Okay.
the St. Cloud Times.
So here's the
Who
deal.
reads the St. Cloud Times?
Nobody from St. Joe, no. So
I
even,
subscribe, so I do read it.
okay, so here's the deal. Even if we waited for the news leader, they publish the 10th. If we don't get it in this week, they publish next on the 24th.
Okay.
So that means we have to interview, that's a 3-week period.
I know, hey, I'm sorry that the news leader doesn't publish every week.
That's
I'm
what
just
we,
saying, we gotta give people a chance to see it, apply. They need a week to apply. I think you can't say you read it on Friday and you're gonna apply on Monday. Don't you, that's just common sense.
Are we able to talk
Well, I'm
with
just-
the editor?
yeah, we can,
Get it in?
we can. I don't think they go to, I think Wednesday's like their cutoff. And we have the same thing as last time, right? We just have to change the dates and throw it to Heidi or who's over at the editor again. Can we find out Wednesday morning quickly? Or maybe I should call her
Can we do a
now.
press release to some of the radio stations, or is that not something?
Oh,
you do?
absolutely. We'll get
Okay.
You
that to
absolutely
we
Debbie.
can
can.
get it out
You
to
can do a
other-
press release.
Okay,
All of them.
Again, I'm not trying to say, but one of the reasons we don't use a news leader for a lot of things is because they only publish every other
yeah,
week.
no, I get it. I'm just throwing that out as a,
Just be able to
Point
get the
of
word
reference.
out there, yeah. I get that.
I understand us wanting to seat the next council person as soon as we can. I definitely get that, so.
Okay.
Rick, what
That's
you're
my
suggesting
concern.
too is just so that they can get started on August 1st.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first, we're coming into budget.
Right,
There's a lot to
right.
get up to speed in a hurry. If we wait
Yeah.
it much longer, again, we can, I know, do it with 4 or just,
Well, can we
Again.
do it on contingent, to be able to talk with Heidi and see if we can't get it in and like you had said, suggesting with the radios?
And then the other thing is, are we allowed to contact the other 7 people that applied before,
certainly,
either by email or phone call, say, guess what?
Sure.
We have the application process open again because of
Mhm.
we should do that,
Yeah,
just
see?
a personal
Yeah.
reach out via email or a call.
Mhm.
Is that legal to do?
That's why I'm asking, is it legal?
I believe it is, and I will double check
Yeah.
with Sue, just
Yeah.
to make sure, but I believe we do send
Absolutely.
a mass email to those that applied.
Yeah,
I
Yeah.
don't believe that's an issue. I'll double check with Sue.
yeah.
so let's, again, I don't wanna, I know it sounds poor, but I don't wanna wait 3 weeks
Yeah,
just
no,
to get it
I
in the
don't
news
either.
leader.
I just wanted to put that concern
Yep.
out.
And so I think if we call tomorrow, we can get it in, I think Wednesday's probably the cutoff date. That's what I think.
I'll check. I think it's usually Tuesday at noon but being it's a short week, I'll check tomorrow.
Just slam it in.
I know, they did it with
Hopefully they can
Ann.
make an exception, yeah, and it's.
Yeah.
They did
you
it
know,
with Ann.
It wasn't a
blurb.
big, it was just this,
So-
it was just a little
Yeah.
blurb, and we have the blurb
Yeah.
all ready to go with different dates now. Again, we're gonna try and do interviews the third week of July, is that acceptable yet, or are we moving that out? I mean, you wanna have a full 2 weeks, so we finish on the 21st, and then interviews the next week, and seat. I'm asking you, counselors, I don't, Brian, what do you think, buddy?
If we can get it in the newspaper and all that, I'm for it.
Yeah. We contact those 7 people that were also interviewed, they're gonna
Okay,
either fish or cut bait.
I'm sure some would apply,
yeah.
Yeah,
Trees, let's do this, let's close on the 21, that's a full 2 weeks.
Okay.
Interview end of that week or that entire next week with trying to place someone for the August 2nd meeting.
Yeah, so then I would suggest that you, if you close on the 21st, I can contact the applicants, and then you would do the interviews the following week, because we have to post that
Yep.
as a public meeting to
Yep.
make sure we're in line with that. So you do have
So what is that?
work
It's just-
session on that Tuesday, but I don't know what your Wednesday looks like, the 28th, for doing interviews. Last time
Oh,
you
we could-
started, again, you received 8 applicants last time, and you started at 4 PM.
So we could
Just
do,
sort of-
we could do interviews and maybe a work session.
Yeah, I'm good for those 2 days.
Dependent upon how
Um,
many applicants we get to.
Oh, I suppose that's.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
suppose.
potentially.
Yeah, because last time, if you received as many as you did last time, you're gonna need, plan on 3 hours.
Yeah, they went for.
Do we have to ask, can we ask the same questions? Maybe they'll know.
Right.
Just kidding around.
Yeah, then I would suggest doing it a different night. It really
Okay.
depends on how many
Okay.
applicants you get.
Yep, I get it. That's fine. If there's not a lot of applicants, we'll look at, just try and complete on the 27th, else
Okay.
we'll look at another day that
Okay.
week. But we do have to publish by the 23rd, or is that right?
Yes.
Somewhere in there? Okay, okay. So that's again, the giant motion. We're gonna fill the same way process, you can have all the timelines, post 7, close 21, publish, potentially interview the following week.
I
Second.
second.
Motion and second to follow that whole smash I just said. All those in favor signify,
Scenario.
all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are good, thank you so much. And Brian, congratulations
yeah.
on your next outing somewhere.
Thank you.
Mayor reports, I have nothing tonight. I just have a question kind of for Lori, if they've cleaned up any of the fund money pockets, so we know exactly what can apply for or anything.
The stimulus money, are you
Yeah.
referring to?
Yeah,
We haven't
Okay.
met to discuss that yet.
okay.
I had a question for the mayor.
Yeah, sure.
For the mayor conference that we're hosting.
Yeah.
Is the council able to be a part of it and do a welcoming and things like that?
Gee, you know-
Since we're hosting?
I can certainly invite you. And you can meet everybody. In past mayors' conventions, no councilors have ever. If you go to League of Minnesota Cities convention, anybody can go. And if you go to the Greater Minnesota Cities convention, anybody can go, but it's kind of an exclusive club. I hate to say it that way. You know, I've been to 5 of them, and there's never any councilors that are there. I'll ask the board. I don't care. I don't care if you show up.
Oh, no, I just thought, since we're
I
hosting.
think you guys should be in the parade every year.
Well, I was gonna offer, but it was kind of the last
I'm
minute.
gonna get
So
golf
next
carts.
year, please note.
No. Bring your
Kelly
kids.
is
bring your-
to have some fun with the council members.
Serious, give your kids, your grandkids, we'll get some golf courts. I'll check, I don't really, nobody, none of the past ones have ever had any councils
When
there.
is this?
What?
September, I think.
September
Where
17,
is it?
18,
Yeah.
here in
Here.
town.
Where?
Well, CSB, and then we're gonna go
Yeah.
out to Milk and Honey, and we'll
Yeah.
do some other things. It's education and
I
kind of.
wouldn't wanna hang out with you guys and gals, so don't worry
Ditto,
about me.
buddy. Jeez, tough crowd.
Mayors?
Yeah,
Boring.
for a bunch of
Well,
idiots
speak for
anyway.
yourself.
No, There'll probably be about 250, 300 mayors here in town, so.
I just
I'll
thought
make
because
sure
we were
one in town.
hosting.
The only two mayors that have never shown up at any conference, St. Paul and Minneapolis, they don't go to conference, they're member, but they don't show up at any of these conferences. I don't know why, but they're not, I'm gonna ask them not to show up here to you. No, I'm not even one that. What's the last one, to adjourn? Item 14, please.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second, motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. Seriously, if there's anything you need going forward, don't hesitate to reach out, anything.
Will do.
I hope to see you around. Brian, are you still hanging in the area, or are you still hanging in the area, or are you
When,
see you around across paths again?
can you reach out to Rhonda and say, okay,
I absolutely will.
and reach out to John too, see if you can set up an appointment between those two.
Yep.